to At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Eric.
Cleveland! Welcome back into At the Office, the sports show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Noah, joined with my co-hosts, John and Eric, and you too can join us at the office. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, X, or text the show 216-260-3433. And I said text, but you can call the damn show now too. So give us a ring if you so well, please. 216-260-3433. John, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Cavs got a good victory tonight. I know we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's been a good week. Cleveland sports, Buckeyes, I'm pumped for the weekend. I'm doing well. How about you guys?
I'm doing good, man. I just got back from the Cavs after I got back from work. I am dog tired right now, but I'm ready to talk some sports with my two favorite guys on the internet. Well, John, you're my favorite guy. Eric's like at least 10th. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
Wow, well, I mean, I was real good until that comment, but you know what? I'm not going to let it dampen my mood. The Cavs got an amazing win, and speaking of the Cavs, while we're on the subject, we got a little thing going on here. We got a giveaway, and I want everybody listening, whether you're listening live or you're listening later, to go follow us on X, on YouTube, and on Instagram. We're going to pick a winner February 3rd. We're giving away a Donovan Mitchell jersey. Cavs are red hot. You can be red hot when you're wearing this sexy jersey. Get in on it.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm ready to get into some sports talk with my boys. Speaking, well, no. We'll get to the Cavs in a second because, of course, the Cleveland Browns had to give me some news to talk about tonight. Cleveland Browns have hired Mike Bloomgren as their next O-line coach. Gentlemen, what do you guys think?
If it first of all, it tells you what it means to be a Clevelander, that the Cavs are like the best team in the league. The Guardians are blowing up the team. We got Ohio State in the playoffs, and Noah's like, let's talk offensive line coach. But I don't know. You're the former big eater up front. I say that as a term of endearment because you used to play some O-line. I feel like it was a bad area for the team, and we hopefully got better. But I don't know a ton about offensive line coaches or what they mean to the team. What do you think?
Yeah, I personally, and thank you for pivoting it back to me because I'm excited about this as the former offensive lineman. I think this is a good hire. Now, do I know anything about him as being a head coach at Rice? No, I've never watched a Rice football game a day in my life unless they played Ohio State when I was like this tall. Mike is a guy who was underneath Bill Callahan when Bill Callahan was the O-line coach at the Jets. He knows what he's doing in terms of going back to some of these roles that, the scheme and everything that fit that Kevin Stefanski did, the outside zone run, the stuff that the O-linemen like Jack Conklin and Joel Bitonio have been talking about they hope they go back to in 2025. He's a perfect fit for this thing, and I'm really excited for it. You guys got anything else? What are you guys thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, my first reaction was who? Because I got to be honest, I never heard of the guy. But the more that I read about him and how he came into the league, I think he's a perfect fit. Obviously, they didn't waste time at all. I mean, it was 3 days after we fired our former O-line coach, Dickerson. And frankly, it was needed. I think this is a good replacement, and we'll see how it goes. It's obviously hard to measure some things, especially when we had such a banged-up unit at O-line, but I think they're making some good moves early, which I like.
Yeah, and I think, too, that anytime you get the name Callahan from that tree back on, I didn't realize how much offensive line coaches mattered. I will say I'm going to do some Googling as to, like, D1 coaches' salaries because to leave head football coach at Rice, I know it's Rice. It's not OU, let alone Ohio State. But to go from head coach D1 to offensive line coach NFL, I don't know if it's a pay increase or not, but I was just like, that seems like a real big step backward, but I guess he wanted to get in the pro. But I'm glad he's here.
I think if you're an NFL guy, you're always trying to get back to NFL. Like, there's rumors swirling about Belichick right now in the Raiders. I don't think he'll take that, but at least not now. But I think he'll be back in the NFL too.
He has a clause in his contract that he can opt out of it at any time with no harm if an NFL.
Well, $1 million he has to pay. them.
Oh, is that it? I didn't see that part.
So he gets
Totally
like
cool.
3 years guaranteed, but if he decides to leave, he has to pay $1 million.
Well, and Bill Belichick money, that's nothing, right?
I would assume.
Gentlemen,
yeah.
let's move forward. The NFL is great. The Browns suck. You know who doesn't suck? The Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs just won a national televised game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was a fantastic game. The atmosphere inside Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse was fantastic. Trust me, I was there. If any of you listening were there, please attest to what I am saying in the comments or give us a ring. Why not give us a ring? 30-second takes. What are your instant takeaways after the Cavs versus Thunder on national TV? I went first, which is weird to say. So, John, I'll actually let you go first this time. And then, Eric, you'll take it. And then I'll wrap us up. And then we can, talk as we do. Y'all good with that?
Sounds good to me.
Let's go.
Appreciate the privilege, big guy. I love it. I think this was a big game for the Cavs. It was good to see the arena rocking like it used to be when we were making deep playoff runs every year. I've said this before, but I think it bears repeating that it's really cool to watch a team break up the whole you got to get one or two of the best players in the league at the very, very top to have a chance to compete. Donovan Mitchell's probably a top 10 player, top 15 player, but he didn't play that well offensively tonight. We still got the dub because anybody can beat you on this team. That includes the first couple guys off the bench.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Eric, go for it.
Yeah, so first of all, shout out to Gilgeous-Alexander because that dude is a beast and might even be your MVP this year. But what I'm tired of are executives from other teams saying that they're not worried about Cleveland. Executives are on the record saying they're good, but. And I'm sick of the but because the reality is the playoffs and maybe even the finals, you got to go through Cleveland if you want to have a shot at anything. We are the team to beat, and we're the best team in the NBA, and that should be the narrative, period.
I'm going to just throw myself up on the clock because I want to know how an individual is a Thunder. A Thunder is a weather happening. So get them out of here because the Cavs are the best team in the NBA. They proved it tonight. They have proved it time and time again. And if I wake up tomorrow and I turn on ESPN while I'm eating my Cheerios and my boxers getting ready for work, and they're talking about the Boston Celtics or the Lakers, get the hell out of here, man. I don't even want to hear about them anymore. That's where I'm at.
When you eat those Cheerios, you got to go no milk. I'm telling you, it changes your life. Breakfast cereal with no milk is delicious.
You're insane. Listen. For those who
we're having a good night.
Often, we obviously have a group chat to plan and talk, and honestly, bullshit sometimes too. We had this whole debate one night about breakfast cereal and eating it with milk or eating it without milk, and when you add the milk. And John is just a crazy person. Okay, John is.
There's nothing wrong with eating it with milk, but a little cinnamon toast crunch in a bag for a snack is also delicious.
I'm a Cocoa Pebbles guy, Tim Lyons. I am a Cocoa Pebbles guy. For those who are listening to the audio, he said, Cheerios, I figured you were a Fruity Pebbles guy.
There is nothing wrong with eating cereal dry. It's just not cereal at that point. The cereal... Okay, I'm kind of contradicting myself, but the
you sure are.
And milk together is what makes cereal. But I want to get back to the Cavs.
Because... I'm glad you said it first.
Because
Tim
listen,
said
what?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch out of the bag.
Go.
I agree with John.
I'm
Eric,
back on
go ahead.
Tim's
Let's
side.
get back on topic. I don't give a fuck
me
about cereal.
Cereal though, but no, listen. The reality is that we played a really good team tonight. They're probably the best defensive team in the league. People wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a finals matchup that was this game tonight. There's a long season to go and a long way to go. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But man, we can utilize anybody. Ty was going off. Anybody. I wanted to see more out of Mobley, but Mobley right now, you guys have both seen The Matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You remember the scene when Neo's finally figured it out and the bullets, he can just stop them and he kind of just drops it. That's my boy Mobley right now. He's figuring out the Matrix, and I love it. Like, I couldn't be happier. The ceiling for this team, I had said before it felt like they were still a piece away. I don't think that. I think the ceiling is a finals appearance, maybe even a finals win. That sounds crazy, but I think we're there.
Listen, there's two things I didn't get to touch on in my 30-second takes because I wanted to, bash the fact that the Cavs aren't getting the respect that they deserve. Two things out of this game. A often listener of our show, our coworker Michael Farmer, asked me today, what do you think has to happen in this game for the Cavs to win? I said, Mobley's got to put up 20 plus. Mobley went out there and put up 20 plus. The Cavs won the game. That's point one. Point number two, I know it's going to be a talking point that Chet was hurt for this game. But if you look at the box score and you look at what Donovan Mitchell did in terms of scoring, he was 1/20th of the player that he was. He shot 3 for 17, if I'm pulling it off the top of my head right now. A full-blown Donovan Mitchell in that game, you don't know where we're at in terms of point differential and how much we win by this, that, and the third. This team is legit. This team is a NBA Finals contender, and anybody who says anything else other than that is just flat out wrong.
Now, we'll say this. No,
selfish.
I agree with you guys 100%. It irritates me. We got the small city syndrome when it comes to the Cavs and everything else because we're like, we're number one. We've only lost 4 games. What do you mean we're not real contenders? I will say in the NBA, this is one of the ways it's different than all other major sports is you are only evaluated on playoffs. You make it or you don't. If you don't, you're a lottery team and you absolutely suck. And if you're in the playoffs and you don't make noise, you don't get the respect. I got a friend of mine. We got to get together, but he's a Celtics fan. I haven't seen him in a while. And we always have this debate, and I'm like, well, it's because you're Boston. And he's a Patriots fan too, so he's insufferable. But he does make a good point that the Celtics get all the credit, not just because they're from Boston. It's because they've won something. The Cavs fizzled out in the playoffs pretty badly in each of the last 2 or 3 appearances. So I'm with you guys. It irritates the hell out of me, but if we go into the first round and it takes 7 games to beat the Magic and then we lose to, Philly in round 2, then we haven't earned it yet. So I think that's where it comes from, but I don't know. They look amazing though. I just hope they stay healthy.
Me too. And they have been healthy all year. We're talking about 2 role players, Okoro and Merrill are the only 2 that are not healthy right now. And we're talking about, I'm not calling them ticky-tacky injuries, but it's not anything crazy. We're talking about sprained ankles and stuff where they could be back tomorrow against the Raptors for all we know. You know what I mean?
Well, and honestly, too, we don't know, but Max Strus being out for as long as he was could still have been a big injury for this team because he dropped like 17 tonight, and all of a sudden he looks like he'll be back in the starting role. We might look up and say, despite the fact that we're 31-4, we also miss Max Strus.
Yeah,
I love Strus, but what is this haircut? He's coming out like, what? Come on, boy. Let's get back to our old haircut.
Some of my Cavs coworkers said it looked like he got the hair plugs put in over in Turkey, and now he's wearing the bandage on the flight home.
Maybe.
Yeah.
The turkey plugs. You got turkey plugs and turkey teeth over there.
I know you want to move us forward. No, one other thing that I do want to make sure to call out, the 15 last seconds I'll take on this is somebody who doesn't get nearly enough credit. I know you two didn't do it purposely. We talk about him all the time. But another reason Mobley being amazing wasn't necessary is because Jared Allen just quietly did his thing again and was absolutely amazing. Offensive rebounds.
5 and 12.
9 of 11 from the field. I mean, I don't know what that percentage is offhand, but right around 90% if you round it to 10. That guy is a piece. He's like a glue piece. He's never going to be the sexiest guy on the floor. He might be the 4th of the big 4, but without Jared Allen's contribution to that, we certainly don't win that game.
100%.
As the residential sneakerhead, I love Jared Allen. Residential sneakerhead, you can see it over my left. Somebody buy that man some new shoes. He's been wearing the same Kyrie 3s that he's had on his feet since he was in Brooklyn. He's changed the laces they've broke. The Nike logo's fallen off. His toes coming out of the toe box.
No, I'm going to hard disagree here because just like I feel about the trade market with this team, and I've changed my position on this, I don't want them to change a thing. Don't change your shoes. Don't change your thought process. Don't bring anybody in. Yeah. I don't want a thing change. If my man likes rocking his same shoes, let him rock them.
I wouldn't change my bed sheets if I played for the Cavs right now. They're hotter than fish grease, man.
Except the haircut. Strus can change the haircut.
I thought you were about to say Allen, and we were gonna have some words because the fro cannot go. The fro
my kids
love right out of the 70s, and I love it.
My girls love Allen shoes because from a distance, because they're like white with a black strap, they look like he's wearing like Adidas sandals or bathroom slippers when he's playing. And I think it's great too.
Gentlemen, let's move forward. Eric, I'm going to give you the reins here in a second, but we have a fun a typical topic that we go into here. We're talking about the college football playoffs. And before I let you take over the hosting duties for this segment, I just want to pat myself on the back because you both suck. I'm 8-0. You are not. I am the best college football picker in At the Office history.
Where is that mute button?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, E. Take it over.
All right. Well, let's get into college football mode. I'm going to switch us up right here real quick. I'm just missing.
By the way, Noah
There we
asked
go.
Siri to make all his picks because I think every single one was chalk. But that's okay. You are winning. I am losing. I will own it. But you didn't exactly go out on a limb there, buddy.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it is the semifinals of the college football playoff, the first ever expanded college football playoff. And I got to say, for the first time, these games feel different. And here's what I mean by that. It feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like anything can happen and either of these games could go either way. I am confident in the Buckeyes, and I will continue to say that if they play like they've been playing, I think they're the best team in college football, period. End of story. But now's where it gets fun. It's the any given Sunday of college football, the any given Saturday. All these teams are good. And both matchups, I think, they could be tight. Who knows? Maybe we will get a blowout. But I don't really know what's going to happen. So for this first game, which is tomorrow night, the Orange Bowl, Penn State versus Notre Dame, both of these teams have a little bit of question marks coming into this game. They're both very good on defense. Sometimes they leave us wanting more on offense. Notre Dame, they didn't really play anybody. They had a weird loss to Northern Illinois early in the season. That's inexplicable. They're playing good ball right now. They're a well-coached team, and they've been playing outstanding defense. Penn State, they're also defensive. They didn't really have any crazy losses either. They played a tough Ohio State team that beat them by just a few points. By the way, they only scored 6 points on offense that day. The rest were defensive points. And I think it was like 17-13 final, if I remember correctly. But they haven't really had those big wins either. They don't really go out and stomp on people, and the offense is a question mark for them as well. I know Noah loves their quarterback. He's going to talk about that. Who's going to show up? Who's going to win? I want to hear from you two. That sets the stage a little bit. We talked about it a little bit as well. It's a little historic because regardless of who wins, we will have the first African-American coach coaching in a national championship game, which is a cool little factor, just worth mentioning. Noah, tell me your thoughts. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, man. I think this comes at no surprise to any of us. I am the residential Notre Dame fan, after all. We talk about everything that we have going on here. We talk about, Marcus Freeman, the Ohio State alumni, doing his thing over there, being the young, hot, upstart head coach. Team was looking great. The run game's looking great. I don't give a shit about any of it. Give me Drew Aller and the boys. I want the Penn State Nittany Lions. Listen, Jeremiah Love hurt, went down during the last game. Penn State's run D will stop whatever Notre Dame thinks they're going to have going with Riley Leonard, the quarterback who had 90 yards passing in his bowl game. I am going with Penn State. I am going with Drew Aller. I am going with the future quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. That's
wow,
my take.
What a take, Tim. I will just say I got you soon. I know ball. I'll help out. All right, John. Give me your
I
take
gotta
on
agree.
this game.
I gotta agree with Noah. I will say, stepping back and looking at all the playoffs right now, one thing is interesting. Yes, 2 black head coaches. That's pretty cool. The other thing that I think is interesting is if we lived in the old playoff world, certainly if we lived in the BCS world, none of the 4 remaining teams would have even had a chance because Ohio State lost twice, Texas lost twice, Penn State lost to Ohio State, Notre Dame had a god-awful loss. I think it's cool that we have playoffs for this reason because these are probably the best 4 teams remaining right now, and they wouldn't have even been in the dance as recently as maybe last year. For me, it's Penn State. I look at Notre Dame and the letdown that they had, the bad loss that they had. I know Eric's not a James Franklin fan. I wouldn't say that I am, but I think this is going to be a huge game for him. I think this is the biggest game of his career. I don't think it's make or break. If he loses, he's not going to get fired, but this is a chance to put the haters to bed and to say, look, we won a big game, national championship semifinal against a quality opponent. And I think the Big Ten is the best conference of football. Penn State's more battle tested. Notre Dame hasn't played anybody. They lost to one of the nobodies they played. Penn State, it's got good quarterback play. They're tougher in the trenches. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points because these defenses are both really good. But I think Penn State's going to win this one, maybe a little bit ugly. But I would be surprised if Notre Dame pulled it out for sure.
Note on that comment, Mo, that Abdul Carter is not ruled out yet, as far as I know. He is questionable for this game. Listen, I've been wrong about Penn State in the past. I have come clean on that. When they took care of Boise State, I said, they've got some momentum going. I do think that they might even have the second best offense of the teams that are left behind Ohio State. That's maybe a stretch you're saying, but Texas has been so inconsistent. That said, what I would like to see is a good close game. What I think we'll see is a good close game. And I've got Notre Dame. I think they're a better coach football team. I know it's a young coach, but what he's done there has been nothing short of great. And yeah, I do think that James Franklin is overrated. He hasn't won anything. If Penn State makes the championship, I will eat my words because that is winning something. And it will be the first time in 40 years that they've made a national championship. 40 years. There are football programs or schools that we call football schools. Ohio State's a football school. It's always been a football school. Penn State's one of those schools too. They're a fine education as well, but they're a football school. He has had talent. He has had access to money and facilities, and he really hasn't won a thing. He's won one Big Ten championship, and he's beat Ohio State twice. I think that's it, twice. Nothing. And I think they fold here. I think Notre Dame will overcome. Listen, like I said, I will eat my words, but I'm not a believer in James Franklin. I think they need to move on. One of my favorite things after the Tennessee game, one of their fans said that Hoople is just Franklin in orange. I thought that was great because they kind of felt the same way. But as down as we get, the part that bugs me, and I know John's going to, I'm not even going to move on to the next game because I know John's going to talk about this. The part that bugs me is John says Franklin's won some things. He's a good coach, and yet he wants Ryan Day fired. If the Buckeyes don't win a national championship, Day's on the hot seat. The most winningest coach, active coach in college football, he wants to fire, yet he backs James Franklin. So I guess I would say to you, because I know the rebuttal that's coming, would you want James Franklin as the coach of Ohio State?
I'm glad you called this out. If Ryan Day is gone and we have a short list, he would not be my number one pick. But if we said we got rid of Day and replaced him with James Franklin, do I think that's a good hire? Yeah, I think he's that caliber of coach.
Okay.
You have to Eric. No, you have to judge people. I know this is always if you don't win a championship, you're a failure. And I go, no, there's a lot of gray area.
I don't think that. I just think he can't recruit worth a shit, which would make him bad for Ohio State. But please continue.
Well, other than Michigan and Ohio State, who's been the best team in the Big Ten since James Franklin got to Penn State? It's Penn State.
Oregon.
They just joined.
Oregon. Well, 1 year of Oregon.
You wanted an answer. I gave you an answer.
I said since he joined, not since last weekend. Jesus. No, it's you go against really good talent. It's kind of like saying whoever's coaching Ole Miss is a failure. Well, outside of Alabama and Georgia, Ole Miss has been really good for a long time in the last few years. Like, it's different expectations. If your expectation is national championship, I would agree with you 100%. But I don't think the Penn State fans or the Penn State culture or where the program was going back to the Jerry Sandusky and all the stuff where they've come, I don't think national championship or bust is the expectation for Penn State, despite the fact that they've won one in a long time ago, but in not too distant history. They have the pedigree, they have the name, but Penn State is not a national championship or bust. Their coach's list is beat Michigan or Ohio State, hopefully play for the Big Ten championship, win it, and we'll go from there. I think he's lived up to if you looked at what Penn State could be coming into this season, he has either already hit or surpassed expectations.
You've said it's a storied program, and you followed it with, he just needs to beat one of the big schools. I would argue that Wisconsin's had a better run since James Franklin's been coached than Penn State has.
I think you'd be wrong about that, but go ahead. We can pull facts on that.
They've made the Big Ten
later.
Championship several times.
They haven't won one.
Well, no, but
and Penn State has, so that's pretty much the end of that argument, in my view. But
I could be wrong here, and I do think this will be a close game. I think it's going to be a defensive game. If Abdul Carter is out, I think that is notable. I think that who wins the line of scrimmage and who wins the turnover battle here is going to win. And you could say that about any football game, of course.
For sure.
I don't know. I just, even if he makes the national championship, short of us not making it, he's not winning it, that's for sure. That's a hell of a season. I'll give him that. Winning the Orange Bowl and getting there, okay, he won a big game. I will give him that. Up to this point, I'm sorry, he has not won a big game, in my opinion. He won
I'm kind of in the.
That's great.
I'm kind of in the middle of both of you, right? Like, I don't want him to be Ohio State's head coach, but I also think you hate. I also think you, Eric, hate him to the highest of degrees sometimes when it isn't deserved for where he's at. And like what John's saying,
I don't respect him as a coach. There's a difference.
And I didn't say I wanted him.
Tomato is what I meant by that.
I want to go back to the recruiting piece.
I do not want him as Ohio State's coach.
He can't recruit. He's not very inspirational to play for, from what I can see. He complains more than anything. His press conferences are one of my favorite things to watch because it's always somebody's fault. It's the refs. They have more money than us. Always something. It's never him or his coaching. He's not an inspiring guy. We talk about all the time, to be a head football coach, you need to be a leader of men. I'm not in the locker room with him. I just don't see it from James Franklin.
I don't.
And just one more addendum. I think you're a little wrong about Penn State fans because I think they're pretty sick of him too. I've heard chatter. No, Penn State fans. I think.
No, I thought you said I think you're wrong on Penn State fans. I don't know if they're sick of him or not.
Well, Go ahead, said that they're ecstatic of where they're at.
I said their expectations aren't national championship or bust. So given what he's given to work with, I think he's done as much with what he's had as can be expected. And for the record, too, Noah. Well, so then I would flip it on its head. By the way, Noah, I don't want him as Ohio State's coach. I said if Day is out, I would want him to interview and be on the list. But if you think that this man can't recruit, even though players like Saquon Barkley have gone there and played well, my question would be, what has Ryan Day won with a lot more talent, a lot more opportunity? Because we haven't won a national championship.
2 Rose Bowls.
Oh, a Rose Bowl
championship. Rose Bowl was the
John,
pinnacle
you can't
of the
make that
sport
argument. He has a way better resume than Franklin. We're talking about bowl games. We're talking about even big time matchups. You could
taking them to a natty.
You guys are missing. You guys are literally missing the point.
Penn State, Ohio
no,
State
you're moving the goalpost.
No,
We're not missing the point.
I'm not. You said James Franklin can't win a big game, and he hasn't won anything. When his expectations are not to win a national championship and not to win a Big Ten championship, just to compete. And then I say, what has Ryan Day won? And you said, well, the Rose Bowl twice. That is not – nobody gives a shit about the Rose Bowl at Ohio State unless it's the national championship or semifinal. You got to beat Michigan. You got to win the Big Ten. You got to win a national championship. He has failed to do all three of those on a consistent basis. I'm not running the guy out of town, but if the narrative is James Franklin hasn't won anything, my counter question is, with higher expectations, with more talent, and with the number one country, system and program, what has Ryan Day won that makes you so comfortable with him being this team's coach?
The winningest active coach in college football.
Okay, not when it matters, but
I
hopefully
think this
that
is
changes.
a good transition.
Tennessee
Good
didn't matter. So you're saying that let's throw this up since we're talking Ohio State. You're
Right.
saying that James Franklin's 2 playoff wins were big. Those were big wins,
No.
but you're saying that ours weren't?
Yes, they all were big wins. Ryan Day has won some big games, and he's a good coach. James Franklin has won some big games, and he's a good coach.
Then why did
I
you
am
just say
arguing
what
for
has
them.
Ryan Day won?
So you're not. I'm saying my question to you. You said James Franklin hasn't won anything.
I know
And
what
if
I
that's
said. I'm
your
asking what you
logic,
said.
Apply that logic to Ryan Day and tell me what he's running. You said, well, the Rose Bowl in a couple of games. Well, that's the same shit James Franklin.
We weren't
has won.
talking about Ryan Day though. We were talking
If you're
about James
talking-
Franklin. You
if
don't
you're
have to draw a
talking-
comparison between the coaches. It's 2 different programs. Why even do that?
Because you're holding 2 people with very similar jobs to completely different standards. You're saying James Franklin never won anything when he just won 2 big games. And you're saying Ryan Day's won big games. We just won 2 big games. What's the difference between him beating SMU and us beating Tennessee?
Ryan
They're both
Day
big
took
games.
over, and there was never a period of time where we questioned. I mean, those losses to Michigan, 2
To
of those
play
years,
devil's-
we don't need to rehash this.
4
To
losses.
play
Michigan.
devil's
Yeah.
advocate for a second, let me jump in here. To give Erickson backing, this is before the 2024 season. This is in June. His record, James Franklin's record versus top 10 teams, 3-17. His record versus ranked opponents, 12-26. There's some
Explain, Jonathan.
Yeah. You said it against ranked teams is what in 26? 12, right?
yeah.
So that means he's won 12 big games. I didn't say he won all of them.
That's
You're
not-
asking for
I
this
mean,
guy to go
ranked as top
undefeated?
25. That's a bit.
Let's move on to the Ohio State game because we're just moving the goalposts and bickering about the same stuff. Eric, take it away.
Ohio State is in the Cotton Bowl once again. This time it means something. This time the Stars are not sitting, they're playing, and they have a foe that they have some guys over there that they're used to. One Mr. Quinn Ewers, who was an Ohio State Buckeye, not for very long, but he was a Buckeye. He left so that he could get more playing time. There's a lot of storylines coming into this. There's snow coming towards Dallas. The fact that they're calling it a home game because it is in Dallas. It's in Texas. I know that's like from here to basically D.C. away from Austin. Texas is a big state, but it does certainly feel like a home matchup. The Buckeyes definitely have the momentum going in. I think Arizona State scared the hell out of Texas, and I'm guessing that they're questioning things. That said, that Quinn Ewers, he is looking mighty confident. The question is, which Quinn Ewers are we going to get, and which Texas are we going to get? It should be noted they have been consistently the number 1 defense all year. Texas has, and we know defense wins championships. But Ohio State, they've got quite the defense themselves, and they have the offense that is just unreal. Jeremiah Smith, I know everybody's sick of hearing it. I know they're sick of hearing he's a true freshman. They're comparing him to NFL greats. Like, he could enter the NFL right now and play and make an impact like a Julio Jones. That's insane level of talent for the age he is. They've never seen, they say guys like Megatron, Julio, they weren't this good at the same age. It's actually ridiculous. So, big matchup. This is Friday, 7:30. OSU's favored by 6. I think it stayed around 6. And I don't know. Well, who do you guys got? Noah, give me your take.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to call out John for not coming to watch the game with me and you because we'll be watching the game together, Eric. The last game,
Little
John, me, and
ridiculous.
Eric were together and watched the game, and John's not going to be there, so he's a fake friend for that.
And if we lose,
That being
all
said-
your fault.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
I'll just blame it on James Franklin.
Tim's gonna blow a gasket in the chat. He's been for those who aren't watching the live stream, he's been telling us to move on from James Franklin this whole time. Listen, it should come to no surprise that the three of us over here wearing Ohio State gear are of course going Ohio State. Will Howard looked lights out, incredible in the Rose Bowl, completing 17 of 26 passes for 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Jeremiah Smith is an absolute dog. As you said, this team is just, when they're firing on all cylinders, flat out the best team in college football. Give me the Ohio State Buckeyes.
John?
It is 100% impossible to argue with the logic here. I tried to go in and look for reasons that if we don't do this and Texas could win. Listen, Texas is a good football team. I want to call out the fact that outside of Ohio State, who's playing the best and is the best in my view right now, I think Oregon and Texas are the next 2 best teams in the country. Oregon was dispatched pretty handily by the Buckeyes last game. I think it's going to happen again with Texas this game. And I think it comes down to the opposite of what it usually is with the SEC gets together with the Big Ten, right? It used to be like, oh, the SEC has all this speed. Well, Ohio State has that speed advantage at the skill positions. But the other thing you have to do, what Michigan did when they actually beat Ohio State, and what Oregon did a little bit in the game, I wouldn't say they stopped us, but you got to win up front, and your front 4 has to be able to plug holes and at least slow down the run. And on the other side, you have to be able to run the ball. When Texas loses this year, they can't run. They run up 300 yards of rushing offense against Texas A&M, and when they lost to Georgia, they had like 32 yards of rushing. Ohio State's defense is as good as Georgia's, and if Texas is going to rush the ball for 50 yards, it's going to be over at the end of the first quarter. You don't even have to wait till the end of the game. Now, I expect Texas to show up. They're going to coach. They got a good coach, too. They're going to coach them up. They do have talent. I don't see Texas rolling over in some of the ways that we've seen out of Tennessee and Oregon. I think at halftime we're going to go, okay, shit, the Buckeyes are only up 7, 10, couple field goals or something like that, and they pull away later. But I think the Bucs still end up rolling by a couple touchdowns. I'd take them to cover. Give me the Buckeyes, and give me a Buckeyes Penn State All Big Ten National Championship.
Eric, I'm ready.
I mean, I'm just going to put it up immediately. Obviously, Ohio State wins this game. There's no way I would pick against them. It's not the homer take, though. It's just they have the best talent out there, period. Their roster, it's unmatched. It's unrivaled. I should say I'm sick of hearing about the $20 million team because Texas and Oregon supposedly might have even had more NIL money. Phil Knight's funneling money like crazy into Oregon. But the Buckeyes develop talent arguably better than anybody in the country, especially right now. That talent this year is cohesive. I will say that for Texas to have a chance in this game, they need to force turnovers and they need to hit Will Howard. If they can hit Howard and get to him, they'll have a shot. But the way our defense is playing, I mean, what do you want? Both sides of the ball were just dominating. And
what was it, 32-0 at halftime of the Oregon game or something?
It was 34-0.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, you're exactly. That's dominance on both sides.
The downside for us is it's another ACC crew reffing this thing. And I'm hoping that the team themselves aren't complaining about the lack of holding calls, because then we're just going to get holding calls against us all day. That's how it generally works. But hopefully they clean that up a bit. But our defense is getting to guys being held, Jack Sawyer being held on every single play. We're still getting to, in the case of Oregon, to Oregon's quarterback. Will that be the case with Quinn Ewers? I hope so. Arizona State was getting home, and they're a much smaller D-line than we have. I think we will control both lines of scrimmage. I think that we will see a cameo of Arch Manning. I'm not worried about that. But more than anything, the Buckeyes have been playing angry. They've been playing angry and with their hair on fire, and I don't think that changes. I think they're well prepared. They've heard the outside noise. Whether it took Michigan to bring that out or not, I don't really care at this point. They're on a mission, And they've said it just like Kobe said it, job's not done. And they're living that, and they're the embodiment of that. Listen, the only way Texas wins this is if they come out and punch us in the mouth strong. I still like us in a comeback. I don't want to have to see Day coach a close game. I think he's an excellent coach. But I give it 2 touchdowns. We win by 2.
I'm excited for this game, guys. And Eric, you beat me to it. John, I want to know, do you think we see Arch Manning?
Yeah. And I was actually going to ask you guys a little deeper question. So once Georgia's starting quarterback went down, coming into the playoffs, I was like, if the Buckeyes don't win, what scares you the most? The first and the obvious one was them having a Michigan layover and sucking against Tennessee. We already talked about that. Didn't happen. The second is, does Arch Manning come in and play well for long enough? They can keep Texas around, right? They have a starting quarter. Quinn Ewers comes in, he gets hurt or doesn't play well or something happens. And they go, let's give this kid a look. And he throws, 2 touchdowns on 2 possessions, and he's got him in a game that's 14-17. Is Arch Manning enough of a wrinkle and enough of a talent to give the Ohio State defense issues? I don't think so, but it's worth
No, because you're replacing
discussing.
Another pro-style quarterback with another pro-style quarterback. It's not like you're going from him to a prime Russ Wilson scrambling, or you know what I mean? Like, I think Arch is really talented, but it's a similar style of play.
Yeah. And you're talking about a kid that hasn't got to play enough yet. Like, I think he could be that type of talent come next year for this Texas Longhorns team. Right now, though, coming in, maybe not being as warm as you would be as a starter, warming up before the game and getting the first offensive snap, I don't think it's going to affect anything. I just was curious if you guys thought that we were going to see him. Eric, you said that.
I think we will for sure.
I don't think we will.
Really?
No? Unless it's something like Quinn gets hurt or something like that, obviously. But in terms of like what their game plan is for the Buckeyes, I don't think we'll see him.
If we're up 21-0 in the first again, I think they throw him in.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, but I'm talking more so as a designed game plan. Regardless of what happens, we plan to get Arch Manning in there at some point during the game.
I think they'll have specialized packages with him. Not super often, but I think they're designed.
Fair.
Do you remember the Cardell Jones out of nowhere 12 gauge? Of course you do. It was our last national championship. Yeah. That's the Arch Manning fear factor I have in the back of my head. Does this kid just come in and start chucking it all over the yard, and we look up and we're like, oh shit?
But I don't.
Like, he is really good.
I get what you're saying, but that wasn't all 12 gauge. That was, Zeke 85 yards through the heart of the South. That was a flea flicker with what's his name, wide receiver throwing a touchdown pass. I mean, those games were just coached out of their minds. It wasn't all put on Cardale's shoulders. So
that's fair.
I don't think we see that.
Listen, gentlemen, we're getting pretty late in the show, and I just realized we haven't hit an ad break. I want to hype up Ohio State as much as both of you. Eric, thank you for taking the reins of hosting for this segment. This has been your segment, your graphics and all that. I appreciate everything you do for the show. I want to take us to commercial break. When we come back, we'll hit a nice little segment about some college football uniforms, wrap it up with some hot takes, and enjoy the rest of our nights. And for me, that means going the hell to bed. We'll be right back with At the Office after these commercial messages. And we're back at the office, talking all things sports, hanging out, doing our thing, chatting it up about the Buckeyes. Listen, please do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Helps us grow the channel a ton. Hit the download button if you are listening to the podcast version of this show. Again, helps us grow the brand a ton. One last thing. Check out the merch store at theofficecle.com. We got merch like the sticker, John. I saw you had the mug down there earlier. Eric, you can show off your Yeti even though it's custom made. Why not? Why not? You should flex that. That was a good purchase. And shout out Fans First Sports Network for helping us do everything we do here. I had an article come out over there. You should go check it out. It was some pregame hype for the Thunder Cavs game. Great time. Gentlemen, let's get back into it. Who has the best all-time college football uniforms and who has the greatest this season? So you guys gave me your picks already. I want to go through a few of these. I want to talk a little bit lighter. Eric, I want to let you go first because I know you wanted to touch on the details of uniforms.
Yeah, so if we're talking details, let's talk about the Rose Bowl for a second. I know it doesn't mean anything to John, but all the
Oh, here
small
we
little
go.
details in the uniform for the Rose Bowl, I absolutely loved. So, as an example, Ohio State's helmet here, that special stripe with roses down the middle, those little touches for a game like that. And I don't care what John says, the Rose Bowl is a mega game. It is the game from college football history. There's no place like the
Oh,
stadium
God.
in Pasadena, California.
No, you can't
And
twist my words. I got to come up for air on that one. I didn't say the Rose Bowl doesn't matter. I said Ohio State fans don't give a shit about winning the Rose Bowl if it's not a national championship or beating Michigan or winning the Big Ten. Continue.
so basically, the Rose Bowl doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, those little details I really like, and it sets it apart, and it helps that we won, obviously. But I think I need to get that Rose Bowl patch and put it on one of my white jerseys.
As you should. Eric, what's your pick for best uniform this season?
This season, and I'm pretty sure they wore them this season. But Notre Dame played a game, I believe it was against Army, if I'm not mistaken, and they rolled these bad boys out. It combines their classic look, which I'm not normally a fan of, but let's be honest, blue and gold as a color scheme, it goes really well together. You got the shiny gold helmets, shiny gold on the numbers there on the jerseys, and that slightly different. It's like a slate blue gray. These just really popped for me, and I like them a lot.
Eric, all-time pick.
All-time pick. All right, this is a little bit of a homer take, admittedly, and I'm actually kind of wearing it. I went with this version of the Buckeyes. Hear me out. From the helmet's a bit different. We got wider stripes, different colorways going. What I love about this jersey, though, is that they combined elements from the years. I'm wearing my boy Braxton Miller right now. And let me say this, Braxton was unbelievable. I think we forget sometimes how good he was, but
Really
he was
good.
flying around in this thing. And my particular jersey,
I got one
my
too.
particular jersey on the inside of the collar, it has stitched 12-0 perfect season. Because if you'll recall, we were unbeaten, but we had a stupid bowl ban because of Terrell Pryor and really bullshit from the NCAA. So they went undefeated. These unis featured. They're one of my favorites because they're classic, but they're modern. It's a good mix on Ohio State football.
Didn't you have an honorable mention you wanted to bring up, Eric?
I did. Noah really baited me into this, but since we're talking about it, John, let me ask you, what is arguably the most iconic uniform in all of
Here we
sports
go.
history?
All of sports history?
Most iconic uniforms.
I mean, I absolutely, absolutely, absolutely detest the answer, but it's Yankee pinstripes.
It's Yankee pinstripes. And what did Notre Dame win at a game at Yankee Stadium? They wore the pinstripes. I'm actually not. This is more of a joke because while the pants look cool, I don't know that the top really pulled this in together. But it's kind of cool, and it's definitely a cool throw to where they were playing that game.
Could you think
Fair
it's
enough.
cool that they had it to nod to the game, but also think it looks gross? You pulled that picture up, and I was like, such a cool idea. Really bad execution, like especially for Notre Dame because their colors are dope. I hate Notre Dame too, but gold and blue is as good as it gets. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they could have done a little better here, I admit. And maybe it's just also weird seeing pinstripes like this on a football player.
Football uniform. Yeah, it's really weird.
A shiny gold helmet, I think, would have done better here.
100%. I agree. John, I want to know what you're thinking. Let's start with what you think the best uniform currently is, and then we'll go to your historic answer.
Yeah, so for this season, this is definitely a homer pick, but it's also true. The all reds that Ohio State had on against Tennessee, they just look so good. In this picture, this is exactly what I wanted, but it doesn't do it justice because you don't see it at night under the lights with the gleam off of the silver of the helmet. I mean, with 11 guys out there dressed in, I just think they look real sharp. I'm a big uniform guy. It goes all the way down to the cleats. Everything was red but the helmet. This is just a good look. And I know that 16 and 17-year-olds who are thinking about where they want to go play want to look good. Like that's a big thing with pop culture. And kids who go to Ohio State games, big Ohio State games, have to be as pleased as anywhere. They're right up there with Oregon in terms of the schemes, the options, the kind of twists like you just had. The jersey you have on now, Eric, for big games. Sometimes they got the huge chrome Buckeye leaves. They just have a lot of options. I think they did a good job, but these were great. They look good. They play good. They beat the hell out of Tennessee. So this was my best uniform of 2024.
The videos coming out of like when they were in the tunnel with the lasers and
it was
all of
so
that,
sick.
Look, and have they ever worn all red before, all scarlet?
Not just like as a casual alternate, not for a while at least. So it
Yeah, I
was a
didn't think
bigger
so.
moment to wear something different than just the scarlet top, the gray pants,
Yep.
the normal, or the white on, gray, the stuff they normally wear. It was a bigger deal for sure as a first time home playoff game to wear almost what is an alternate.
Yeah,
John, what's your
ever.
all-time pick?
I kind of alluded to it before when I said it doesn't get any better than blue and gold. The Buckeyes do have an iconic uniform. My favorite color is blue. I went with the UCLA Bruins. I mean, you got the powder blue, you got the gold, you got the unique stripes around the shoulder. UCLA isn't like USC, even in terms of being an iconic program, let alone Ohio State or Notre Dame, but this is a classic uniform. UCLA is a classic program when you think all sports and old Pac-10. They've had their moments too. I love Carolina blue, powder blue. I think the UCLA uniforms are crisp and classic and never get old. So shout out to the Bruins. If you played as well as you looked, you guys would have a hell of a lot better football team.
And we wouldn't have your coach as offensive coordinator. The Rams kind of ripped them off, no?
Here and there,
yeah, a little.
probably.
I kind of see the Rams when I look at that.
So you guys, I'm
Gentlemen.
going to take a ton of shit for this. I want Noah to get his jerseys in. I did have 2 honorable mentions. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hear your mouths. I hate the
You wait
Yankees.
until I go because I have 4 jerseys I'm going to talk about just because
All
I'm
right, yeah.
So go ahead.
No, Tennessee's orange is a very good look, and it's classic.
This guy.
And this is going to be worse. When Michigan wears all blue with yellow numbers, that is a great look. I hate the team.
Cannot
I'm an
give that
Ohio
answer.
State fan, but you're asking
you're
just
not.
pure uniforms. Yeah, they
Take
do
the
look
hat
good.
off, take the jersey off, and get off the show. You're done. You're done.
Not your show.
done.
You gave me a login and username, buddy. I'm not going anywhere.
Listen.
Sure.
So before I get into my mentions, I want to talk about a not so honorable mention. Me and Eric talked about this. I'm going to pull it up right now. TCU did a uniform refresh recently, and it is the most atrocious thing, the most disgraceful thing to the Horned Frog brand I have ever seen. How do you get rid of the horns that are clearly there on the left and put together this basic create a jersey that you see on the right?
Create a jersey is the best way to say that. It's like Penn
Right.
State. That's just an ugly jersey.
Is it worse than the Tulane green and powder blue? That's another.
John, I
ugly
think
one.
you have a hater in the comments. Look at what Tim Lyon said over here. Change the password, Noah.
Tim, in fairness to John, he's a fellow Bengals fan, so I
That's
don't know.
true,
You
too.
got some common ground there.
Listen, so I'm going to go into my pick for right now. The image that I pulled isn't the greatest image in terms of the right now uniforms. This is a little bit of a throwback, but I think it is a good example of why they are the best uniforms in college football. It is the Oregon Ducks because they have so many different options. They do so many different cool things with their uniforms. Yes, some are complete strikeouts, but some are absolute home runs. So I got to give the Oregon Ducks credit, especially because we whooped their ass last week. So they can have something nice. They can have this as their consolation prize. This small podcaster in downtown Cleveland, Ohio said, you got some cool uniforms, bud. Enjoy the Bahamas.
Of all the Oregon uniforms you could have picked, though,
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that one's top 10.
No, I
See,
was
that's my
literally going to say
favorite, actually.
you picked the ugliest Oregon uniform out of 50.
Dude,
But-
no, my favorite. The fact that it matches the duck to a T, I love it, personally.
Well, I think there's a reason we haven't done a Brutus jersey, but to each their own.
Well,
was
what
just
are we
gonna
gonna have
say
a
that.
big nut on our chest? Pause.
Maybe you do
Right.
every night. Oh, shoot.
Okay, here
This
we
is a
go.
kid show. Sorry.
My all-time
Reel
pick,
us in.
my all-time pick goes to the UNC Tar Heels. I don't know why I just froze up there for a second. These throwbacks are what they wore this year, actually. They've had a couple different versions of this throwback, though. It is just such a clean uniform. It is the best color of all the colors, is that powder Carolina blue. I love it so much. And because I'm the host, and you both got the same.
UNC. I just don't get it.
Yeah, well,
I
it's
like-
the color for me. It's just my favorite color.
It's a great color. I like UNC also, but that was right up there with UCLA. It's almost the same color.
And now, because you guys both got to get an Ohio State pick in there, I'm about to piss you both off. My favorite Ohio State jersey that they have worn in my lifetime. The 1916 striped throwbacks. I love these jerseys. I have one in my closet. I wear it every game. I love this jersey. Any reactions?
I want you to keep wearing it because we're winning. But no, once again, you pick one of the worst jerseys as your favorite. I've never liked this one. You tried to sell me one of these, and I told you no. It
You
just
tried to sell it to me too, and I didn't want it.
Not my
Evan, if you're
favorite.
listening out there, I suckered you into it, man. Thank you, because now I have one that fits and I wear it every game day.
You know what? Since we're giving out so many honorable mentions, the Ohio State Blacks, especially with the black helmets and those, they're like almost like a chrome scarlet.
chrome.
The stickers, that was so sharp. And then the Buckeyes one time wore like a camo helmet that was darker as well. Those were sick too.
The black would honestly probably be my real answer, but I wanted to bait you guys and piss you off because I know I tried to sell you both that jersey. And I do really genuinely like that jersey, but the black is probably the best look in terms of any blackout in college football ever, in my opinion. But that's just me.
Do we know what they're wearing against Texas?
I think just the basic white. Maybe they're wearing scarlet.
Well, no, Texas is wearing their white on white, so
we have to
we're
just be wearing
classic scarlet
yeah,
paired with gray pants.
We got to
Fair
remember,
enough.
I think we're technically the away team in all these games because we were a lower seed. So I don't think we can wear
Texas, every team that's left was also played in the first round. All the bye teams got beat.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So okay.
Gentlemen, let's take this show home. We're coming up on that hour mark. Random thoughts, hot takes. John, what you got for me?
I don't remember if this is a first show or not since the Sugar Bowl. But my hot take that's not so hot, just a thoughts and prayers to the people in New Orleans. You talk about a resilient bunch of people. On a sports level, I can't stand LSU. I don't have anything against the Saints, but I hear it's a cool town. But between Katrina and everything it took to come back, and now this random senseless act of violence, shout out to people. We as Midwesterners, especially Clevelanders, give ourselves a lot of credit for being resilient, but New Orleans has been through it. Glad everybody could rally. Thoughts and prayers to those affected. Hope that we can get in front of stuff like this in the future that doesn't happen again. But great job, I thought, by the city of New Orleans. And like I said, thoughts with you. Happy New Year and all that stuff. Hope it all turns around.
Eric, what you got for me? I couldn't have said it better myself. I kind of forgot. I think me and Matt might have touched on it last week after it happened because it obviously affected the sports world too. But thoughts and prayers out there to all the people in New Orleans as well. Eric, what do you got for us?
Well, before I go, I mean, I'll echo that sentiment because I obviously agree with you 100%. But let's lighten it up a little bit because New Orleans has been through a lot. And I just want to take us back to a time, mainly because we just watched this video. But when Kanye West said, George Bush hates black people.
George Bush does not care about black people.
This is supposed to be sports related, Eric.
I had not seen that in so long, though, and I was dying because Mike Myers is standing there so awkward. Like he wants to just disappear to any place he possibly can. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, sports related. I already kind of touched on it. Yeah,
Thank you, Tim.
Tim. And Tim, you're welcome. I paid you immediately with our bet, by the way. So let me know if you want to do another bet because I want my money back. My hot take is all revolving once again around Ryan Day. I did waver. I will admit it. I was after that Michigan loss. The first thoughts in my head were, I'm done. I can't support this guy anymore. 4 straight years is inexcusable. But like most things in life, you should wait a little bit before making a decision. And the truth is, Ryan Day is our football coach. Not only is Ryan Day our football coach, but he's one hell of a coach. The Rose Bowl is important, and he's won it a couple times. But bigger picture, number one, we need to back our coach. We are one of the worst programs, if not the worst, in how we back this team and these coaches. Yes, there are expectations, and yes, they are sky freaking high. But when I look at our rivals, and granted, they are used to losing, but when I look at our rivals up north, they gave Harbaugh quite a while. Don't forget that he lost to Ohio State to start his career at Michigan like 4 straight times, and yet he won a national championship with them. We have a coach that does nothing but win, who understands the program, and even though he has stumbled, he understands the rivalry too. I can't say that about Nick Saban. You hear him talk about, Ohio State needs to get a reality check. They can lose to Michigan. He doesn't get it. Ryan Day gets it. We need to back our coach. We need to back our team. And we also need to understand that college football is forever changed. It is more like the NFL. You can lose games now and still go on a run and win a national championship. If the Browns lost to the Steelers both times in the season, but went on to win a Super Bowl, we wouldn't be calling for Stefanski's head. And I just think we need to ground ourselves a little more. It's unacceptable to lose to Michigan. I don't want to mince words here, but this is a hell of a football team coached by a hell of a coach, and I think we need to back them better than we do.
It's an interesting take. I feel like some Ohio State fans will have your head with that regardless, unless we win a national championship and this game on Friday. My final thought, my hot take isn't really hot. You need to go out there. You need to vote for the NBA All-Star Game for our core 4. Jared Allen just had a great night. Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, all 4 of them should be in this game. And the fact that we have players such as Jordan Poole ahead of Darius Garland right now, and I'm looking at the front court names here. I could see all of those people being above Jared Allen, but they aren't the best teams in the NBA like we are. So go out there, vote for the core 4, get them in the All-Star game, let them represent the great city of Cleveland because they deserve it for what they're putting on the court right now. That's my final thought. That's my hot take. Gentlemen, do you have anything else you want to say to the people before I wrap this thing up and get myself to bed?
I have one quick question, and it's not just to
Of
keep
course
you
you
up,
do.
but,
You always do.
But I'm just really curious. I want your guys' take really quickly, just because I kind of mentioned it.
10-second takes.
If the Browns lost the next, let's just call it 25 matchups against the Steelers, but in return they would get 3 Super Bowl wins in a row these next 3 years, I think we probably take it.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. We take the Super Bowl wins. My question to you guys is, if we would lose to Michigan 4 more years, but win a natty in each of those years, do you take it?
I say no because we could also beat Michigan and still win a natty.
Sure, but that's not the exercise.
I was gonna ask. So you're telling me this: if for the next 4
I'm
years,
like, you're stuck on an island, and you're like, yeah, but I have a helicopter, so I won't be. Like,
No.
come on, play along.
So wait, that's what I guess I didn't get the question. So you're basically asking, in a given season, would you rather beat Michigan only or win a national championship only?
I mean, we could just stick with my question. In the
That's
next
the
4
same
years,
thing.
It's the same. Yes.
yeah.
Same question.
Because I want to take the show home. It's the same question. Stop getting into the semantics, you two. Damn.
No, I would take the national championships. Doesn't mean
So
Ryan
you-
Day shouldn't be fired for losing to Michigan, though.
I would trade a national championship for a Michigan win next year. Maybe that's a hot take, but
Wow. All right.
because I think they're going to win it this year. So if they lose it next year but beat Michigan, then I'm still happy. That's just me. John, you got anything else you want to say to the people? Eric, I'm not going to ask you because you'll come up with 4 more questions and I'll be up until 2 a.m.
It's rude.
You'll be
No,
all right.
just I actually agree with Eric that we should back Ryan Day. I do think if he doesn't win a national championship, though, he still could be on the hot seat, but we'll see. Hopefully, we don't have to worry about it.
We will see. Thank you for joining us at the office. Don't forget to subscribe or hit the download button if you're listening to the audio version of this show. Check us out on all socials. You can see it right over here. The mirroring is screwing me up in my tired state. At the office, CLE. Have a great day, Cleveland. Have an even better night if you're watching it live right now. And we'll see you next time.